Totally.
Doesn't work anymore?
No,
If I say
never
end-
worked.
If I say end, does it end?
No. It just says bye-bye.
We'll call the November 21st Infrastructure Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Steve Brenner.
Here.
Keith Durr will be absent. Jen Reimer said she will be here. Fred Moble
Here.
and David Reeser.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. I assume we have some public comment today?
Yes.
Please.
Where
Just-
do I make it from?
You can make it from anywhere you darn well
Well, let me
please.
get here because it bothers me.
Okay, that's fine.
Talking to people's backs.
So just state your name, your address, what we got.
Eve Kimball, 14 Gelson Lane.
Thank you for coming, Eve.
Thank you for letting me talk to you today. We understand that you're considering eliminating the addition of fluoride to your water supply, taking it out. On behalf of the citizens served by the Water Authority, we express our objection to terminating water fluoridation in the boroughs served by them. We're deeply concerned about the negative impact that such a proposal would have on the health of the people served by the authority. And we want to provide you with crucial information to utilize as you make your decisions in this matter. Mental health is critical to overall health. Anyway, you have a copy of this.
Yes, we do.
It helps.
Has everybody read this? Had a chance to read this email?
Did everybody, well then, okay.
Yeah.
There is an error in the email.
Okay, please point that out.
I'm of that age.
So am I.
0.7 instead of 0.07 parts per million
Okay.
is the optimal fluoride level. You should know that your level is 0.51, it's not even optimal yet. And the other critical thing in here that you should know is that there is technical help available free from the CDC. The folks at the Pennsylvania Coalition for Oral Health can connect Mr. Bilger directly to them and set up a phone conference with whoever of you and him or him for whatever you may need. Because I'm not aware totally of his concerns. I just know that as early as the 2nd of October, a concern was raised that he was considering, and he was given the application for a $25,000 grant that's available from the state through the PCOH for work that
Okay.
needs to be able to upgrade water supply. So that's it. I
Okay.
understand that you can't comment back, so it's okay.
Oh, I can.
I mean, my comment was, we're gonna discuss it under Western Berks Water Authority anyway, but that this is not typically a question and answer session.
Fair.
So if you have questions, you have my email address at the bottom, on the back of, at the bottom
Yep.
of this. And feel free to
Thank you.
email or call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And Jim and I were also gonna bring that up under the Western Berks Water Authority agenda item.
Understood.
Thanks, Steve, for being here.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Jaded?
Just on number 4, we've discussed this before. I'm gonna try and ask again if we can ask Service Electric to bury their cable, even in areas where it's not already buried. The older areas of Wyomissing do not have buried cable. But if we continue to allow these things to grow on poles, it's already not what Wyomissing was designed to be, and it becomes extremely unsightly. And we all want competition, so we should have as many as possible, but if that will come at a price of having to deal with huge fiber optic cables, multiple of them on poles. So my request is to place a condition or request or do something about those unsightly cables. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, I'll make public comment as a Steve Brenner, 1918 Sturbridge Drive. I found out about this information about the fluoride myself when you sent us the email, so I thank you so much. We have concerns also, and I promise you that we have 2 representatives from Western Berks Water Authority here to address your concerns also. Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? Hearing none, let's go to number 4, the request for service electric service franchise agreement. Is there any updates, Chris?
I don't have anything new, I heard anything from our representative.
No, I have not.
Okay, moving on. Ta-da, Western Berks Water Authority. I'll pass the table to, I don't know who wants, okay, to Dave?
He gets the most up to date.
Just give a little background on this, before we get this out of hand. Discussion came up regarding, a fluoride feeder system at the plant. The plant's 50 years old, so we're continually looking at things, how to efficiently and responsibly spend money, okay? So the discussion came up, do we need the fluoride? And we said, okay, let's ask the boroughs, let's get some feedback, let's gather some information. And that's all that's just intended to do at this moment. We have not made any decisions, and we wouldn't make a decision without going public with it anyway. So I think you're a little ahead of the schedule here, okay? So that was the intention of, just to get some information from internally, from the 3 boroughs. Now, interestingly, as of this morning, we've not heard anything from West Ridge or Shillington. I don't know if that's good or bad, I'm just making a comment. And that's pretty much the background on it. Chris, do you have anything else?
No, I don't know if we want to mention, I mean, the reason it kind of came up is the expense of doing it, but also it's kind of a safety issue. The fluoride it's a very hazardous thing to manage.
There's a lot of controversy, I mean, and I'm not about to discuss that today, but there is a lot of controversy regarding fluoridation, so, but I don't know, I'm not qualified to even discuss it, so,
What,
but there is.
what do you envision being the nature, the feedback from the various municipalities? Would it be the form of a resolution from council or?
You know, I think at this point, to gather information, what do the 3 boroughs think? Did they all say absolutely not? Well, I guess maybe we're sort of have our hands tied, which is fine. We're just trying to get some information together, and what's the feedback that we can get to help us make a decision? And we haven't made a decision, obviously. Just try to gather information.
So-
Would that require borough council?
No, I mean,
Council speaks for the borough,
yeah.
and the borough is a participating municipality in Western Berks Water Authority. So I think it would be appropriate for council to speak on the subject, but I think a motion is sufficient, it does not have to be a resolution.
That's what I envision.
Yeah. Do you have any information on the cost of maintaining the fluoridation program? in Western
Well,
Berks?
the issue that came up was the feeder system. And we're talking maybe $100,000 just for that feeder system. I think the fluoride itself, I can't give you any numbers on the fluoride expense, but fluoride I don't think is very expensive as I recall. We don't use that much of it, but it was the feeder system that we had a concern with, because the plant is 50 years old, and we're talking about spending $15 million, and we're trying to cut anywhere we can if necessary. But we're talking about $100,000 roughly for a feeder system. So that's how this whole thing came up, and quite innocently, we have no intention of doing it or not doing it at this point. So.
So the process will be, Western Berks will do their quote-unquote due diligence. The borough will respond as it feels appropriate to our feelings on
Exactly.
fluoride. The
Yes.
other boroughs will also be involved.
Well, we
Wish
told
to.
them about it.
If they wish to be involved, right? I think it's important for everybody to know that, and if I'm wrong, Jim, please correct me. I know that part of our constituents are served by a whole different water system. And if I'm not incorrect, the people residing in the Wyomissing Hills district of the borough of Wyomissing do not have fluoride in their water through
American.
Mid-America.
I don't know the answer to that.
I've-
I'm 95% sure.
I'm pretty sure you don't too.
Because
I remember hearing with my children, when we went to the dentist, they said, where do you live? And we said, we lived at the time in Wyomissing Hills. And they said, to make sure that your kids are brushing your teeth twice a day, blah, 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 because of the lack of fluoride in the water. So just for the public's knowledge, there's already part of the borough that's not.
That is true.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's not being
it's,
served.
that's a good point. PA American supplies water from wells. Obviously, they cannot insert the fluoride in well water.
And that's hard.
And secondly, there is no requirement from the state regarding fluoridation. So,
So can I ask you a question with respect to the other municipalities? If they have gotten the same letter?
well, meeting.
Yes.
Is there some anticipation that there will be sort of collective movement on this? Or if we say we want it and they say they don't, is it still $100,000 and it's all one by one? Or are you expecting everybody to say yes or no? And that's what you want?
I can't answer, I don't know what the outcome of that is at this point. I guess I'll react when something happens. And again, we're trying to be as open with this, but we're trying to keep it internal at the moment just to gather facts. And at some point, if we decide to not do it, there obviously is gonna have to be some public pronouncement on it. We certainly wouldn't just do it just to do it.
So are you guys reaching out to them to get an answer from the other
We just want to
municipalities?
be, what's your opinion?
Right, but you expect to get one from them?
Well, I'm,
Maybe, maybe not. Well, there's nothing until we get an actual formal request, okay, for our opinion or vote on this. I mean, right now, it's just, hey, you know,
We're gathering
hey,
information.
We're kicking it around, so there's nothing
Exactly.
formal that needs to be accomplished
no,
today.
no, absolutely not.
Although the borough, we have, this committee could pass on to
Council?
council the recommendation that we send a letter to Western Berks Water Authority to keep the fluoride in the water.
I'd make that.
That we could do, yeah.
So we have a motion on the table for the borough to send a letter, or to, wait, sorry, for Michelle to write up a letter to take to council that will request Western Berks Water Authority to continue with the fluoride treatment, fluoride, and I'm using the wrong term, keep fluoride in the water.
Fluoridation.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Okay, I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Move on to council. I think it's important to understand, just as a background, because we have the unique situation of the hills being on a different water, underneath a different water system. We got a significant water increase that we're all gonna be paying for, starting 1/1 of this year. And the council as a whole felt it was important that we did not just include that increase in general taxes, because it would, that'd be unfair to the residents in the hills. So the reality of it is, we're dealing with a portion of our borough that already has the fluoride system. If that happens to come by and it's another $100,000, whatever the number is, we understand that that'll just be an increase in the bill, or it won't help our bill down the road, somewhere down the way. But I think that's important for everybody to know. Okay? Any other questions? Chris, you have anything besides fluoride to talk about?
Not me, not at this time.
Dave?
No, no.
Okay. Let's move on to the zoning and codes report. Michelle, I hate to do this, but I'd like to get into some, who are the ones that are dragging out longer than they should, that kind of stuff.
That's fine, I mean, those are probably questions you should direct to Joe, but, as for my section of the report, pretty self-explanatory. Please note, there are 3 zoning hearings coming up on December 7th for 1198 Reading Boulevard, 1001 Reading Boulevard, and 1209, 1211 Penn Avenue, which is not on my report, because the documents hadn't been prepared at the time my report was prepared.
What address was that again?
1209 to 1211 Penn Avenue, which is owned by the Bell Tower.
I do have a question on that. Okay, the zoning meeting, are they required to pay something to go to the zoning board?
Residential applicants pay a $1,000 application fee, commercial applicants pay a $1,500 application fee, and we still typically lose money on every hearing that we hold.
Specifically in the 10,001 situation, it's an issue with the height of the one building, right? Why wasn't that caught before they built the structure? It was missed. All right, if that's the case, why should they have to pay the $1,000?
Because they could cure it by voluntarily removing the height, and coincidentally, they could have also chosen to appeal the decision of the zoning officer, which is only a $500 application fee, and I talked to their attorney about doing that. And them.
I think I'd be a little annoyed if some, where along the line mistake was made in issuing, approving the structure, then I have to go back and spend another $1,000 to appeal it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I understand.
I agree.
Well, why should they pay?
Well, actually, this wasn't on there, this actually first started with our office because that wasn't a building on the approved plans. It was a trellis and a garden. Approvals didn't have this as a pool house building. It was a trellis gazebo area.
Permitting process,
Yeah, very convoluted.
very convoluted, and then it was, well, we can't hold this, can you issue a
These-
a
all
permit
these
for this,
partials,
so
yeah.
we can get that started, and can we separate this, and that's part of the reason, I mean, there's no excuse. It was missed.
Yeah.
It was it wasn't an obvious dimension, it was a hidden dimension to
Okay,
begin with,
whatever
but
it
that's,
was, yeah.
even when we discussed it at another zoning hearing board, and I went back and looked at the drawings, it took me a long time to find that. But,
It was there though.
it was there. It was there.
It ended up being a pool house.
It is a pool
It is a
house,
pool.
it is,
Now it is, yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
So
it's finished space, I mean, it's,
So it's a
it's a
long way
heated
from
finished
when it
space with a
started.
kitchen, like the living area, the recreation area, bathroom, changing room.
It's beautiful. So anyway, that's my only
Well,
point.
At this
about
point, it's
that.
in front of the zoning hearing board, where there's not much we can do about it until they make the ruling.
Well, even then, other than appealing their decision to the Berks County Court of Common Pleas, if you chose to do so, that is all you could do.
Correct, but we don't have to worry about that until the zoning hearing board.
Correct, and I don't see any reason that the zoning hearing board is gonna be opposed, I mean, it's a 2-foot variance from what they're asking for versus what's required. The pool house is 17 feet tall, give or take, and maximum accessory structure height is 15 feet, so.
Well, let's hope that the zoning hearing board applies the common sense rule.
But
And
I don't
agree.
foresee
this
that
is-
being an issue.
This is not a height restriction, it's only height restriction because it's a detached building.
Because it's
Yeah.
accessory.
Yes.
Because it's accessory.
Accessory detached
Right.
building, which is, I don't even understand, we have the same thing in Spring, it's ludicrous. I don't understand the basis, the rationale for making a distinction.
I'm just doing $1,000, I just don't think it's fair for them to pay that, that's all.
Yeah, if we're starting out, if the reason they're before the zoning hearing board is because we require it, then we just tell you don't have to go there, forget it, don't go before the zoning hearing board. Why would we make them go there? They don't have the ability to waive the fee. They have to collect it because they have to go there. So we should not even make them go there. If this thing went from a little thing to a huge thing, and we missed it, then tough luck on us to pay
Well,
those
No,
taxes.
it's still a violation.
It's
They
still a
still-
violation.
They still are obliged to follow the zoning. I mean, the initial mistake is by their architect for not designing per the,
Well, we approved
zoning.
it.
Why didn't we catch it in the
I
approval
I
process?
already said that, it
Yeah.
was missed.
Right, well,
We
then
missed
that's
it.
the argument, that's correct.
So that would make
But-
them go and get a variance.
But it still is an illegal building, whether it was missed by us or not.
Well, maybe
What
we
the
should
zoning
make them-
hearing board
make
hearing will
buildings
do
small.
is make it a legal building.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's
Ron,
ultimate goal.
They were, one of the options they were given is they could legally reduce the height of the building and then they will comply. That was an option.
No, I'm 100% agree with this, but I also think that if we did screw up, then why make them pay an extra $1,000?
Ron, there's a theory, and this can remind me of it, where a variance is granted and you did everything correct, a variance by estoppel.
Yep.
So that may be what Keith Mooney has in mind to bring in there, saying,
It
hey,
is.
everything's there, everything's on, you missed it, it's your fault, give us the variance.
And that,
And then
that
maybe
is-
if it's based on that, they could come before the council and say,
Yeah, and we'd have to approve, right,
Yeah.
deny it, right, sure. That's my only point, and we can't even make a decision now, but I just,
So the only thing I have to do is
wondering.
keep going.
All right, moving on.
Steve, you had some questions about specific properties on?
No, I just want to make sure that we're touching on, when we go through this report, let's do it a little slower, so we can touch on anything that's been major repeats that we have to deal with, or the ones that are gonna be the biggest problem in your minds. Okay.
We'll start with, we did resolve 22 of them, so I think that's important.
Yeah, very good, that's very good, right.
So we.
That's a good start.
Yes. And I'm not gonna honestly tell you I know everything about everyone on here, so if you wanna go through and, ask me any specific questions.
Okay, does anybody have any specific questions? I know, Mr. Jadick, I know you're here, I don't understand what happened back in 2013, so if someone can explain that one to me.
I actually will defer.
Yeah, so I was a zoning officer at the time, he applied for a zoning permit for the driveway. At the same time, the state of Pennsylvania put a permit extension act into play that effectively added 10 years onto approved permits, depending on the time period that they were issued until they had to be completed. That time period has now expired, I believe it's been over a year. Mr. Jadick was notified at that time of the requirements to apply for a new permit, as the old one was many, many years old. My understanding is that he was notified on November 3rd that he needed to submit a permit that was in response to his request for some type of extension because of the time period, the continuing work going on. Mr. Jadick stated that he did not receive that email notification on November 3rd, but has since acknowledged receipt of it, and Kraft has agreed to give him until next Wednesday, which would be the end of November, to submit a permit application to finish the driveway.
Okay.
May I comment on that? There
No,
was
I
some
think-
inaccuracy.
And I think we're pretty close to having what we figured out, so.
There was inaccuracy in what was said.
Well,
All right,
let's go back to the inaccuracy since this whole thing started, which is ridiculous.
all right, go.
Uh,
No, we're done,
I'm-
we're not having a conversation on it, I just asked about it, and I got my answers. Are there any other questions regarding any of these other properties?
I'd like to make a note, 40 Cedarwood, there's
Or you
actually.
see it? That always seems to be on this list.
Yeah, that's because she's had a bench warrant out for her arrest for about 4 years.
Okay.
So there's actually a fire there, a very small fire on Saturday. I talked to Chief Hackman. He gave me an update Saturday afternoon. It was an electric blanket that started on fire on a sofa. In the process of being in the structure, there were 14 conditions observed. So I emailed Jeff over the weekend, with some of the pictures the fire department took. The intent is to have the fire marshal and one of the inspectors from Kraft go back and have a conversation with her, basically explaining you can either let us in voluntarily, or we're gonna take these pictures and go and get a search warrant. The likelihood the search warrant's gonna be granted are pretty high, and then we'll be back to serve it. So at that point in time, my suggestion would be issue a new notice for whatever interior conditions are observed, as well as the exterior again, and let her know that, she needs to deal with all of this, there's a warrant out for her arrest, et cetera, and hopefully that will get movement.
We can't track her down, huh?
It's not that we can't track her down, that's the process.
It's totally vacant then?
No, she's living there,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I mean, the good news is it was central station monitored, so, like, that smoke alarm went off and it went straight to the fire department, it went straight to dispatch.
Okay, fair enough. All right, any other questions? Okay, then we're done with zoning codes report, moving on to water.
I guess the only thing I wanna touch base on is item D. I guess it's B and D. We did do that interconnection test on the 25th. But before we even got started,
we found a problem. There's a Rawa connection across the Buttonwood Street Bridge from Rawa to West Reading. And that sprung a few leaks, apparently. So now not only is our Topahocken Road pipe not available as backup, neither is this Buttonwood Street Bridge interconnection available for backup. So it's somewhat concerning.
Is one of them easier to fix than the other?
The Buttonwood Street Bridge appears to be an easier fix.
Can that be expedited?
Rawa and Western Berks are, as we speak, working on that. They think it can be a relatively simple mining project. But I don't know details after that.
Wouldn't that have been something that would have appeared or been looked into when they did that, when they redid that bridge?
That's what's baffling. It was new when the
Yes,
bridge
bridge is
was
new.
redone.
That's part of the
So it's
problem.
only 6 years old?
Exactly.
Yes, that's the issue. Why is pipe broken in the street bridge?
Is it possibly the same problem that resulted in damage at the other bridge? Was it
Different causes.
Different theories, different no, you know, you don't know for certain. Different, it didn't appear to be a freezing issue.
So we think between Western Berks Water and Rawa, we'll have this figured out by the time. So we tried to do the test, but we couldn't do it.
The leak that everybody.
Yes, please believe me, it's a very big concern for us, but in light with that, working about the backup, the filter gallery, it worked, but which really this issue came up about backups. That's been delayed till next year. The contractor has not, we don't have a date as to when we're gonna turn off the water and fix the filter gallery. So I can't give you a time now, but they've already told me it's going to be next year.
When you say next year, 2024? Or do you?
23 is the next year, right? Yeah.
It's because we're dealing with 23 budget issues.
Time's moving fast.
Not the 24 yet. But anyway, so that's
So
the
there's
issue.
there's no date yet on when the shutdown's gonna be.
Exactly.
Got it.
But we do have a concern, obviously, we're on top of it, chips on top of it, yeah.
So all the authorities are on top of it. We would hope that
Yes.
everybody makes good decisions. I assume that we will be notified if the plant is shut down without those two backups
Yes.
being available. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough.
We've already worked on alternates.
All right. Contract price, let's worry about that stuff. Sanitary sewer,
Well, one other thing, item E, I'd
Oh,
like to
sorry.
touch base on.
sorry.
That should be UCMR, not
Can you tell me
BCMR.
what UCMR stands for now?
It stands for Unregulated Contaminant Rule, basically. This is a
Unregulated contaminant monitoring report.
monitoring.
Report is what.
Report. We had to go through this, and it wasn't bad. A few years ago, I think it was the third cycle. Now we're in the fifth cycle, and somehow we were chosen. I think Shillington was chosen also. This is things that aren't sampled for or regulated in public water systems. It's just other things that they're looking at that, gee, maybe we should regulate these items. All different kinds of chemicals, I would have no idea what they are. But they will send us basically a sampling package. We go out and draw samples, send those samples in as part of their program to see what the next regulation is gonna be.
I assume you do these samples all over the borough.
I think we only have to do one at each interconnection at this point, so it won't be many. There's one that's not on here, that I'm even more concerned about, that I just found out, we were up at a meeting at the Water Authority last week. And there's some new lead, rule coming down. Currently, there's what I refer to as the lead and copper rule. Every 3 years, we have to draw samples from private houses, get them analyzed to see if there's too much lead in the system. And we pass every time. I'm not aware of any lead pipes the borough has at this point. If we do get a positive hit for lead, it's more from the plumbing fixtures inside a house than it is from the pipes out the street. But this new lead rule, as I'm understanding it from Chip, will be very onerous to prove to the EPA, who trickles it down to the DEP, that you have no lead pipes. There's some sort of testing ledgers for every connection you have. He's gonna schedule a class for us to learn about this, but it sounds like from what he made it sound like, a full-time job administering this new lead law. That won't happen until we have next year yet, it won't happen until 2024. But it could be, depending, if I'm hearing him right, it's
Not just for us, for everybody.
for everybody.
Yes.
Is this something that is best managed by the borough, or is it something that Western Berks should handle?
I don't think they would have any interest in handling it, because most of it is the service line from the main to the house. And they have no interest in that, that's the distribution system. But I would need a guidance through them or the DEP on how to administer this. Yeah. We know, we do, when I heard a little bit of this not too long ago, and we've gotten in the routine now of when we change a meter, we identify the type of pipe that's coming through the wall in the house. It's either galvanized or copper, we've never found anything but the two. But from what I'm understanding, that isn't good enough. They're saying, well, what about the connection from the main to the curb stop and the planting strip? How do you know that that's not lead? I went, no, unless I dug it up. I can't believe you're gonna make me dig that up to verify that, but we'll see.
I thought the borough had one of the most sophisticated mapping programs of anybody in the county from way back when the borough began. We have archived these documents.
We surely don't have the most, I don't know where you got that information at. We have a very good AutoCAD drawing of where our water and sewer are located. But as far as old documents that would show this was lead, I don't have anything like that. Nothing. And very few people would. I don't know where they get it.
It sounds like a problem not unique to the borough of Wyomissing, but every borough, township, and city around town, around the state, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see where it goes. It
Let's
sounds
not
scary.
overreact to it.
It's not overreacting.
Have fun in your class, it sounds like a humdinger. All right, anything else in water, Jim?
No.
Sorry to cut you off. Sanitary sewer? I know we have some payment applications, is there anything else you wanna talk about before we?
Nothing else for discussion other than payment application number 4.
Okay, so we need a recommendation to move the council, payment of application number 4 in the amount of $126,915.96
So moved.
to Sewer Specialty Services Company, Inc. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Move it on to council.
Just in case anybody wants to see the payment schedule for that contract is up on the screen.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Okay, good. Nothing doing the pump station or the West Lawn Interceptor?
Yeah, there's a little bit of update there. The short version on the West Lawn Interceptor is we'll be working with Spring Township. We'll likely be adopting a resolution at the December council meeting for the H2OPA grant application to do a co-application, because we get bonus points if we apply with another municipality, but in reality, we, the borough, will be taking the lead on that grant. Can ask for up to $20 million. It does have a 50% match. We would go in likely with option number 1 being complete removal and replacement of the pipe, with option 2 being pipe bursting, since we still don't have a clear answer from Spring Township as to cost, better option, etc. We have our next meeting with them December 1st. And Jim and I had a call with Colleen last week to kind of get her as much of the information for the grant that she's gonna need to start the process going, since those are due December 21st. Do you have anything? you wanna add?
Estimated cost?
1.4 max, 1.4, 1.6 million. So I mean, the good news is I had Phyllis put 750,000 in the 2023 budget, which would approximately be our match, cause there is a private party that has a cost of about 300,000 they'd be contributing.
Okay, anything else under sanitary sewer that needs to be discussed? Moving on to streets, and we have a payment application and a change order, is there anything else we need to discuss?
Actually, two payment applications, number
Sorry.
2 and number 3, that we should approve. Their work is done. I'm in the process of verifying their square footage, and hopefully within a few weeks, we'll send out the invoices to the participants in the program.
Okay, so we need a recommendation, for payment application number 2 to be paid in the amount of $43,935.30 to LB Construction Enterprises, Inc.
So moved.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, moving on to council, then we have payment application number 3 to LB Construction Enterprises, Inc. for $39,060 even, and need a motion for that also.
Also moved.
Motion, we have and a second, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carries.
Three.
Now we have change order number 1.
Number 1, like a long time ago?
We awarded the contract on the base amount excluding this, and then council approved this, but the LB contract was signed at 1/16/4/17. So there was never actually, this change order was never signed adding it to the contract. So we felt, even though we proved it, we should make a motion to execute the change order.
Okay.
Chris, if you think we don't need to do that.
No, I think we should.
Okay, so we need a motion to execute the change order that's already been approved in the amount of $162,817 even, to LB Construction Enterprises, Inc. Do we have a motion for that? Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Under C, I assume there's nothing since the bids aren't being opened until December.
Right.
One thing I don't know if this is necessary or not, there's not a lot of curb work with 2023's work, but there's some. And I need to send out letters to those property owners that they're gonna have to replace some curb. And generally, I don't know, what's the history of that, Chris? Is that something we have to do every time? Get council permission to send out curb notices and letters?
You know, it's been the past practice, I
Yeah.
think, to have direction from the borough to send out these letters.
I don't think there's gonna be anybody here who has a problem of us notifying our residents that they're gonna have to pay for a curb, so, we need a recommendation to send out letters to those individuals or residences that will be affected by the curbing in 2023. Do we have a motion to that extent?
Also moved.
Motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Fair enough, thank you. PennDOT State Hill Improvement Works, anything there?
Jim, I'll let you take this one.
Have fun.
Okay, so Jim and I had a meeting with PennDOT out there to coordinate some utility relocations as well as Western Berks and the other utilities. But at that meeting, out of it came that PennDOT is looking for the borough to tell them what we want done in the center of the roundabouts, that they will construct, I guess to some extent, if we told them we wanted a water fountain and a giant statue, they'd probably, make us pay for that. But we will then be responsible for the long-term maintenance of whatever is in that center of the roundabout. So we don't have to decide this today, but I figured we're gonna have to probably at some time in the next 9 months deal with this. So they are the plans that they plan on, what they're doing at each of the intersections and driveways. So we have the roundabout at Woodland and the roundabout at the mall entrance, at Greenwood Mall and Berkshire Mall. Because
The
this,
one on
this,
Penn Avenue.
this phase is only from,
Oh, it's not in that phase.
it's only from basically the one north side ramp of the bypass up to, Colony Park. Then phase two's from there to, Russo's. Who's Russo's?
No, Spring Street.
Spring Street, you're right. Then to Penn Avenue, phase two.
And keep in mind, we quickly learned with Innovation Way and why Smitty's is, we were talking about them doing the weeding. Adding significant amounts of landscaping, vegetation, anything that we need to take care of in-house will require extra employees. Like, we're stretched thin as it is now, so while I think it would look beautiful if we could landscape these two roundabouts, there's a employee time element that comes into play with
Listen,
that.
all I can tell you, my commentary on that is, I have gone up Route 222 100 times in the last 3 months, and those roundabouts have a nice cement slab in the middle that look easy to take care of.
Yep.
I think we could.
Let's make that motion right now. Concrete.
I think we could.
That is an option, it's just, they just want it high enough so the driver can't see across,
Right.
they don't want you to see
Or
across the
coming
other
traffic.
quadrants of it, so it'll be like
Right.
4 feet high.
There's a
Yeah,
couple of
that's
stone monuments.
They, like a retaining wall, they'll have the mountable one, then it'll go vertical and have a wall, it's concrete on top if that's what we want. Concrete, stone,
Well,
whatever.
that's
you know.
not how they are on 222.
That's not how they're on 222, I can see straight across them.
Why-
Design change?
That's what they specifically told us at the meeting,
They did say.
because I said, make them flat concrete the whole way, and they said, no, we don't, you can't see across them.
Whether or not old.
You can see right across the ones at all.
Yeah, you can drive over them if you need.
So we can just tell them we want concrete, we don't wanna maintain anything.
I think the goal would be to maintain nothing.
Okay. And then we're gonna get a ton of traffic light, not traffic lights, lighting street lights around these that are.
That
we're
would be
gonna get
us.
our-
We
that
don't have
would
much
be
of a
us.
choice on that
We
one.
don't have any choice on that one.
Gee, will they work?
It will from the get-go.
Details.
I have a question before we move on. There's no 9A. Is that inadvertently missed or?
The streets.
Yeah.
Dispatch.
Oh, didn't renumber when we deleted A.
Okay.
We'll make a note that there's no 9A.
No 9A.
Put those in the notes for future reference.
It's invisible ink.
All right. Sounds like we're up to, is there anything we need to talk about on the Cambridge Avenue stream work?
Yeah, we actually have environmental clearance approval and right-of-way approval.
A year later.
A year late, took a year, we got the two of them the same day. Now we're waiting for the structural unit. But the interesting thing was, we submitted to in June, wasn't it?
Yeah.
May or June? And they took till now to review and then said, since we took so long to review, we now have new forms, so you can redo everything on our new forms. I'm serious, I'm not making this up.
I believe you sadly enough, I have to believe you.
Yeah, all new forms. So we have to redo the entire packet on their new structural form, which almost looks identical to the old one, but there's a little change difference on each page, so you can't just stick the old pages in. So that
So
should,
keep
that should
in
be
mind-
going back in.
Grants are good, but they're also not.
Say it again?
Grants are good, but they're also not.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this would, I mean, if we didn't, I mean, we had the money for the grants, good, but this would have been done a year ago if we didn't have it.
Yeah, bless you.
Bless you.
All right,
Nothing on the
done with Cambridge Avenue. Anything new on the Wyomissing Creek pedestrian bridge?
It's one and the same.
That's the same,
Same
fact permitting for both at the same time.
Green Lake Road has already been approved. There's nothing to do there, I assume.
No, they should be starting any week now.
Okay, so Green Light Go 2018, I'll say the same thing for Green Light Go program 2019. It's already been approved, there's not much to do there, right? Are they both gonna be done, obviously they're both starting at the same time, so they're gonna be done at the same time?
I would assume so.
Yeah, they're actually the same contract. They're segregated so we can do the grants, but it was bid is one project.
On to 14, administration and police department needs study. I don't know if we need to do anything on that. We've already,
Lee wants to start, he just emailed me this morning and said that Michelle told him that I was supposed to coordinate it. Thanks, by the way. So,
So McCarthy's coordinating.
I sent him at least he couldn't do it this week, I said, how about Tuesday or Wednesday next week, so. I think that would, the next step's a meeting with Chief Phillips and Michelle.
Yeah, the chief's out all this week, so.
Yeah, well, nothing's getting done this week in the world.
No, I meant to even get John's availability for next week,
Okay.
but I'll try.
Okay. Wyomissing Trail blazing signage.
So this is where we asked for the reduced sign, and essentially what we come up with was to get rid of all those ones that say trucks go straight and everyone else turn. So we sent that to Tom Walders, he's floating it by PennDOT. He doesn't think PennDOT's gonna approve getting rid of the truck signs. But in the closeout of the escrow for Wawa and VF North, Ducom, all that, we put in there that they were gonna have to pay for all the trailblazing signs, not the borough. So it's not costing us anything
Seems to
to
be
the
sign
signs.
city over there, is what you're telling us.
Directional signs.
Directional signs.
So many signs that no one will know what to do.
There's a lot of signs over there already. I think it was 35 more that Tom had, when I cut it down to like 17 or 16.
Is that what that number is gonna be approved, or they're gonna be somewhere in between?
It won't be in between.
35.
PennDOT's gonna make us put the 35 in.
Oh.
TBD's taking it back to them, but they think we have almost no shot of PennDOT cutting that down.
Okay.
But the one good thing we didn't know last month was the borough's not paying for whichever amount of signs we need.
Got it.
We're paying for the replacement of those signs.
No,
No?
well, I mean,
Won't be an escrow anymore.
no, but, I don't, Jim, how often do you replace a street sign?
10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be all council.
I'll be retired.
Yeah, they cost.
Yeah, Jim and I will probably be retired by then
It's a
too.
15 by 18 sign plus $20.
We'll come and visit Fred.
More than that.
So, can you help me with having clarification on the grass cutting contract?
Yeah, there was a math error on my part when we awarded that. The true price is $3,480 and what we approved was $3,180.
And we did cut out, we cut out
And
the
we
weeding
did cut out
and
that
all
whole
that crap.
weeding thing.
Yes.
So what do we need to do here? This just goes,
New motion to approve it at that amount cut for council to approve.
So are they just not paying it, or did we ever get clarification on whether they were gonna, it was gonna cost $500 to
We
weed it?
took that out.
That was taken out.
We
It's
took
still
now
taken out.
Nobody's gonna weed it.
No, we'll
We'll
handle
go.
that.
We'll
weed
just
it.
go barrel weed it, okay.
let's do some H&R, no one will.
I heard that.
Alright, so we need a
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to
Correct.
correct the grass contract for 2023 from $3,180 per cut to $3,480 per cut. We have a motion, we have a second. Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Fair enough.
I do have one item under old
Do we
business.
have to amend the contract? We have to amend?
I don't think so, because it's old business and I don't think we need any action at this point, it's just an update on the grant, direct fee grant.
Are you asking for any discussion?
Yes.
Or is it just, okay, if there's gonna be discussion, I think it should be added to the agenda.
Okay.
So we need to make a motion to amend the agenda under old business
Correct.
To discuss.
to discuss.
The RAC P capital improvements grant that was awarded on Friday for the public works facility.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
That's all the
opposed?
plans.
The ayes have it. Any public discussion?
I have an objection on Sunshine Act, it's not public discussion on the rec team.
That's what it's gonna be right now.
They're just
Okay.
voting to approve the agenda.
I understand.
All right. Any other public comment? Nothing? All right, moving forward. Go ahead. Well, now what was it?
Just like.
Michelle, go ahead.
So I found out late Friday night that the borough was awarded $2 million of the $3.5 million grant application that we requested for the Public Works Garage. You may recall, we applied for the same grant last year, were awarded $1 million, so we now have a total of $3 million. That grant fund has a 50% match requirement, meaning if we spend $3 million, we gotta match with $3 million. This was a project we put out to bid in May, June of 2021. Jim originally estimated. Okay, sorry. Jim originally estimated a $4 million cost, low bid came in at, I think, 6.6 million. We rejected all the bids for obvious reasons, then found out we got the million, decided to go back with another grant funding request, so now we have 3 million. The revised cost estimate for this grant application was 8.8 million, but I will let Jim speak to why he thinks we can reduce that cost somewhat, or just naturally it will come down.
So the original 4.5 million was done back in 2018, pre-COVID. So as everyone's aware, the construction materials went through the roof since COVID. Now lumber's back to its pre-COVID board foot price. And when we took the 6.5 last year, we were continuing all the material inflation trends the way they had been going out through 2024 for construction start. So we've seen that reverse, especially on wood products. Steel has come down, and concrete products not as fast as wood, but I think we should look at, what it's gonna be now. Because it's not gonna be 8.8, it's probably not gonna be 6.5, probably somewhere in the middle there. But I think we should take that back. If you remember, we had retained Berkey as the borough's owner rep on the project. So the one thing maybe to go back to Berkey and say, hey, how about we update these prices, today, based on what we've seen from last year's bid, based on what you've seen, all these different material trends, we're gonna have them go back to their subs to do that. And then secondarily, after that, we could then look at, okay, is there some wants that we're putting here that only they could be lowered to needs, and basically value engineer the project back if we have to meet a budgetary number that council determines. But
To bring somebody up to speed that we're not on council or the committee, as part of the discussion of this project, which it was discussed here, and Jim, feel free to chime in here at any point in time. This would involve the construction of an entirely new building on the southwest side of the this is the property the borough owns, this is the existing.
4th Street's on the left.
Yeah, 4th Street's here, this is the existing public works garage, so you can see the small size versus everything that's getting added. Part of this would be an entirely new building that would function as the mechanics area to work on the vehicles, a wash bay that would meet MS4 and environmental requirements because we currently do not, storage for the police department for some of their evidence and other things that they are required to keep, and then the addition of new indoor large vehicle parking, in addition onto the space that the public works employees actually use. If none of you have been through that building, I strongly encourage you to go and take a look at it. It's undersized for their current needs. I'm surprised they can actually get around in that locker room. It's pretty bad.
And the way construction has to work, the new building has to be built first.
Excuse me. Sorry.
You got it?
Kick it over. Thanks.
Because we're relocating the offices and other things into the new building that are currently in the existing. So basically, we have to build the new building, then move everyone out of the old to renovate the old. So it's not like we can't put the addition on the old, call that phase 1. The new building has to essentially be phase 1.
And there's also a new, I'm swinging in the wrong direction, outdoor storage area, which would be used for salt, correct, Jim?
No, salt storage is over here.
Salt to side of the main garage, but stone and
That's,
old patch.
So the good news is we have $3 million in grants.
right.
When do they
3
come
years?
out?
Typically, you ask for, when I accepted the $1 million grant award last year, I did it with a request to give us a time extension, because we knew we weren't gonna do anything with it. We could keep adding to those time extensions if need be, typically for up to 5 years.
So are there separate construction contracts going on regarding what we're doing about this building and the police and that structure?
Yes.
Yeah.
The one we're doing for the here and the police is separate from
This.
Right.
So we could do both because we have the funding to do that.
No, we only
But
have
we
funding
have-
for public works.
It's only for this.
The funding's only for this, it's
We have $3
projects.
million worth of public, for this particular project, of which
Right.
we still need to come up with another $3 million for.
With 3 million plus.
$3 million plus.
Right, and then there's the cost for this. For you can't use the money that we're talking about now for this project.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct.
And I've already had the conversation with, Kathy Bruder. We're gonna actually set up a meeting, she's talked to Tom Gumbar from Senator Schwenk's office. He understands our bigger facility needs with this property specific. So she's setting up a meeting with his office and some other legislators and possibly the new governor's office in 23 to talk through what that looks like. Tom thinks there are other pots of money out there better than RACP that we could go after for this property. So we're gonna start that conversation. That is, Lee Olson does the need and mass study. You know, we have a grant funding track that we can go after outside of this.
So back to the good news, 3 million is good, 3.5 million is bad. But, you know, at some point, something's gonna have to get done, I get it, so.
So is it possible to do two projects and have the money that's not free to us to pay for it?
I don't understand the question.
Well, we have this project,
Right.
which is,
But we're not talking about this part.
no, I understand, but
But he said it's
eventually.
3
if we
million
talk-
plus for this project, right, Ron? And then is there enough money that we're,
Right,
in addition to grants,
yeah,
for the admin and police?
yeah, we're gonna be able to do both
I
these
don't know the answer to
projects
that.
and pay for them.
I don't think
I
you're
don't
doing
know.
this project anytime.
Yeah,
Well, and
this
then-
is way ahead, this is way ahead.
Yeah,
Than this.
this project is just in
We're
the
talking
infant
5
stage
years,
of,
10 years, or we're talking 2
Well,
years?
I think there was a 10-year plan.
But this one comes first.
Yes.
well,
We
thi-
have everything ready to
this,
go on
this one is literally, has been bid, specs, everything are done. Essentially, we, you know, if you said you wanted to rebid this, we could have this rebid in 45 days, award a contract, you know, then they'd have, you know, another 45 days to get permits, you know, 120 days, they could be putting a shovel in the ground, realistically on this.
Yeah,
But
the extra
here, we haven't even had the first meeting to determine, do we stay here, renovate here, build another building, rent space? So, I mean, this, the project for Borough Hall is 3 years behind that project.
Do we have the 3 million plus match designated in our funds?
No, but we have the $7 million line of credit, which we took out
Why we
specific
took out
for this.
purpose.
Okay, all right, I'll leave it at
How much of the new building is the police storage? Like, is it a big portion?
No.
Because if we're gonna move the police and all this other
No,
stuff
it's-
anyway, should their storage be
it-
with them at that point, or does it have to be
It
over there?
is
It
this
doesn't.
one.
I forget which bay, it's one of those two
I
blank
thought I hit
bays.
you in the head for a second.
Oh, it doesn't show up on that one.
It is one of these two bays, I forget which one. We can pull the architectural plans up, look at it. I think it's this one.
That's for
Like, does it
evidence.
make
It
sense
is-
to
it
put
is
the
this
police
one.
storage
Well,
over
that
there?
could, that could fall into the wants not needs thing.
And that, the evidence,
Well, see,
I
there's
think-
just enough
Yeah.
areas for impounded cars.
No,
That-
that's not what,
That
That's
was
not
some
what's
of it,
going-
but not all of it.
most of it's not cars. It's climate controlled space for documents and evidence.
It's a
and-
lot of the stuff that's up in the garage and in the basement now, and I mean, I think John would tell you, the chief would tell you, any additional storage he can get, regardless of where this goes, he will take, because if it is 10 years until we do something with Karen PD, he needs an immediate fix,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's probably 3,000 square feet is what's in that space.
And I would think if we do temporary police storage even for 10 years till we get to that other step, that could be repurposed for something else down the road.
that. Sure, public works.
So the question then becomes, does this committee need to make a recommendation to see what the real cost is gonna be? Because you've gotta get approved by finance and admin, obviously by council is the total, but finance and admin first anyway.
Well, I gotten prices from, the only one who hasn't gotten back to me is Berkey. I went to the architect, all of the design professionals to say if we were to take this project and look at it, the update price and see if there was anything that just jumped out that this is a huge ticket item that we should discuss before rebidding it. And it was like $6,000 to do all that. But I don't have Berkey's number. They're the only one I'm missing. So,
So we need to wait for Berkey's number to come back before we make any recommendations.
I think so.
And that's not I mean, the only thing I need to do in the next month is send a letter accepting the grant award, which even doing that, we're not tied to still saying down the road, nope, sorry, take the money back.
So you need a recommendation from us to take to council to accept the RACP award that we just received.
Preferably, yes.
Okay.
And I don't know any response from Berkeley so far either. I don't believe on that part.
Do a motion to accept the RACP award that was awarded to the Borough of Wyomissing on
November 18th,
18th in the amount of
$2
$2
million.
million. Do we have a second to that?
I second with a 50% match.
100%.
So a motion and a second to accept the RACP award as awarded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Do you have a feeling you're inching closer? Inching.
Getting it.
Inching's good, inching's better than bad.
At least you're going forward with that.
Senator Schwank was a huge supporter of us getting this money. And I've talked to Tom Gumbar from her office about probably setting up a tour so she can see the existing facility. So when we schedule that meeting, I will make sure anyone from council or the committee that wants to attend to meet her is able to do so.
Good idea. Jeff Forson.
Don't make that.
Okay. Anything else on this, Michelle?
No.
All right. Any other old business to be discussed?
I made an objection, and Mr. Hartman, I was not allowed to even voice what the objection was about.
You said it was about
No, I didn't.
Sunshine Act.
Yes,
Good. We noted it.
but you don't know what it is about.
Why don't you enlighten us? What
Yes.
is your objection?
So the objection is that, so first of all, I protest the fact that I was not even allowed to speak. I have, under the law, the right to voice my objection at the time.
Go on.
Okay. Second, the fact that parts in this, of these documents are not available to the public. That is an NOV on our property that I have no access to the narrative that is there. And it is what I've heard for the first time now, Michelle speaking. It is a false narrative. And you run the meeting in such an abusive manner. I've never seen any other resident in this place not being allowed to say a couple of words when he's on the screen. You're not interested. You're not interested in facts. You list a false narrative. I have no access to it. And I am sure this is politically motivated because you're running for re-election next year and you want to force a situation on us in which we have to sue the borough when we have been more than cooperative and explaining. Nobody is made to pave a driveway before a permit that is valid and issued is done and a certificate of occupancy is issued. It makes no sense for me to put a dumpster in the street when I can put it on my property. We are here to work with you. Everything that was said there, not everything, at least the portion I've heard, because I don't know, I haven't seen it, I can't even read it, is false. And you just don't want to have a decent conversation how to resolve this. We're here to resolve it, but it's just what you're asking makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. And nobody is willing.
With all this?
Excuse me?
What the heck needs to be resolved with all this? Jesus Christ, we build a medical center quicker than you have to redo your house.
Sir, this is not the level of conversation I need to have. You don't know the situation. You've never been.
Why 50%
Mr.
of your
Judge,
neighbors
you have not
complain
been
before
once to come. You have not once visited to have a conversation. You're a council member. You're the president of the council. You don't give a damn anything about putting blame on based on racial and discrimination and ethnical bias. That's what I have seen from you.
We have noted your objection. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any other old business? Is there any new business for the good of the borough?
If I could just ask Chris a question, we're putting a couple vehicles in municipal bid that's gonna be in the Shell's report probably for council, that need to be mentioned.
Will you be seeking authorization to place those items on municipal bid?
They're already on, but it's a public auction site, we've already approved
Yeah,
that process.
but we should have some kind of,
So I can, under my manager's report, I assume you'll get offers prior to the December council
Correct.
meeting that I will then be giving specific, well, a request for a motion to approve sale of X for whatever dollar amount.
or is there estimated value over $1,000?
Yeah,
We ought to have official action by council, so I would recommend that as part of Michelle's report, that she seeks ratification of the placement of those items on municipal. And then council can award the sale of those items if you've received an acceptable price.
But no action has been taken this evening.
Any new business? For the committee? Hearing none, take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, all those in favor? Any opposed?
You can have it.
Meeting
You have
adjourned.
a work session, you can have it.
What-